uplifting learning. I'm your host, Cherise Glasgow, and thank you for joining us from wherever you are in the Caribbean and around the World Wide Web. Today's program is a very special one. We are speaking with recent graduates of the UWI Global Campus. They'll be representing different countries across the region, and they'll be sharing their personal journeys, their experiences studying online, and how access to education through the UWI Global Campus help them to achieve their goals. Let me now introduce our wonderful graduates today. We have Ana Oliveira Reyes from Belize and Dr. Dermendra Dubé from Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Let's Talk Access. It's truly a pleasure having you on with us today. So let's begin. I'm going to allow you to tell us a bit about yourself, introduce yourself, tell us a little about who you are and the program you studied at the Global Campus.
I'll let the lady go first.
Thank you. My name, as mentioned, I am a teacher by profession at the high school level. I am a mother of 4, and I studied instructional design and technology. It was a master's program. I am at the moment at a high school teaching math and technical drawing.
Awesome.
It's been a long journey for me in teaching. My first teaching job in Trinidad was back in 1990. And since then, I've always been a teacher. Um, I was fortunate to graduate from the University of the West in 1989. And then after quite a bit of waiting in Trinidad to get into the postgraduate diploma in education, I became a certified teacher early in the 21st century. And after spending 13 years working in Trinidad, I met my wife, who's also a teacher and a UWI graduate. And we then embarked from around 2002-3 on a journey that took us to Bermuda, the United States, Shanghai, China, Bangalore, India, then a stint for 1 year in the Middle East in Abu Dhabi, and now I'm back here in India. I'm working at the school that I worked at before, and just yesterday she took up a job at another school, international school here in our city. During that time, we had one son who was born in Bermuda, and he took the international journey with us. Of course, he's a Trinidad and Tobago citizen like us, and he graduated out of an international school here in India. And proud to say that in 2023, he applied to UWI for the MBBS program, and he was accepted as a national of Trinidad and Tobago. It was a very proud moment for me, having taken him all around the world with us and having him have the choice to attend universities all around the world. We actually sent him to Canada for a program. And when UWI accepted him, he had no hesitation in saying, "This is my dream. This is what I want to do." And of course, as parents, both of us know that the quality of UWI, we know, of course, that the bang for the buck for us as nationals, and it was no hesitation for us. He's been there since 23, and he's been doing really fine. Very proud that he's a pelican just like us. And happy to be joining this evening.
Yes. Dr. Dubé, I can't even say that you are a Caribbean man, you're an international man. So those who, as you said before, right now you're in India, what time is it there? Because here in Barbados it's after 6, in Jamaica it's 3 minutes past 5, and in Belize it's 3 minutes past 4, right, Anna? So what time is it there in India for those that are watching and listening?
Yes. It's 3:33 a.m. here now. And one of the reasons I decided to accept your invitation to join this is because it's like a little bit of deja vu for me. Going back to my 4 years and a bit more of working in the doctorate program with my colleagues from places like Belize, the Bahamas, and Canada. And most of them, even though they're scattered across the islands, they are from that time zone. So I was kind of like the only one out here in the time zone, and everyone would come in and say good evening and whatever. And I also would say good evening. But thankfully, I think a lot of it coincided with the COVID pandemic. So I was at home. So after I'm finished with classes, I'll go take a little nap and get up at either in the morning or if I had a class first period or whatever. So that was a little bit of a reprieve. Um, but yes, it was a challenge to have to get up, and I tried not to miss many lectures because, one of the things I feel about, working in isolation, where you don't meet people to chat and have a snack or coffee with them about what's going on in class, is this time to like engage with your colleagues, your classmates online. So I tried never to miss coming online and then being active and making a contribution.
Okay. So we will definitely get back into your story a little more. I know that will come up later as we start to speak about both of your journeys and classes and things like that. But right now, I want to ask both of you, you may know, I'm sure you know that one of the key pillars of the global campus is access, which is making quality education available to people across the Caribbean and the world, regardless of location or circumstances. So let me start by asking, what does access to education mean to you, especially as global campus graduates?
Go ahead, Anna. I'll let you go first all the time.
Well, definitely that was really important, and especially for me being a little bit more older, it was something that I had to get used to. But I must say, throughout my experience, I never really had that issue. I know when we had one lull more to the end of the program when a hurricane hit Jamaica, and we had to wait for other counterparts to deal with that situation. Things slowed down, but besides that, I must say interacting and what Dr. Dubé mentioned a while ago about being there and being a part of the discussion, because I noticed from the get-go, our lecturers really that was very important for us to engage in the discussions. And we had quite a few of them that would ensure that everybody would engage within sessions. And I really appreciated that, because there are some times when, especially during COVID, as a teacher, you would be online with students and you wouldn't have that robust interaction. And so you'll sometimes hear crickets, but I can't say that we had that. I don't feel that I had that problem, because our lecturers ensured that we interacted, we shared, we said something, we just didn't give like just short answers. You really had to engage, you had to know your information, you had to prepare for those sessions. And I appreciated that, because it felt it gave me value for a buck, because it's not cheap, and I'll be honest. Especially going back to school so late. I had to shuffle around a lot of things. So that was very good. That's one thing that I didn't mind, staying up 3 days or 3 nights getting my work done, along with my professional duties or my motherly duties, or as a wife. So that made it very worthwhile for entering back into the classroom. And I've always wanted to do my master's degree.
Yeah.
You know, as a mother and having other responsibilities, you always put that in a back burner. I could tell you a story about how I actually signed up. I was on a drive a day, and I was a little bit frustrated with certain situations in my life. And I said, you know what? I went into the Global Compass, and I went at their brochure racks, and I looked at the different courses they were offering. And actually, instructional and design masters was not the one I was looking at. I read the brochure and I said, but wait, this looks like something that is needed, that is relevant now. Uh, and so I did not have any money set aside. I didn't have any plan on how I was going to pay my tuition. I didn't have anything planned. I just decided, you know what, this can't wait anymore. And I chose that, and I refinanced a loan that I had already. I paid my first semester. I bought a laptop, and I got into it. I went deep into establishing myself into my courses. And the first semester I couldn't, because I went in the second semester. Um, and so I managed only to get into one course, and I said, you know what? Oh, this is going to take long. And I said, you know what? I just used that semester to get used to the online life and getting used to the student life. And so that was a good adjustment, even though I saw it first as a little setback. It really worked out for me. And so that's how I entered into the program, and I went full-fledged ahead,
Full
no
speed
matter.
ahead.
Yes,
Yes.
it
What
was.
about you, Dr. Dubé? We'll get back to Anna a bit more about her journey. What about you? What does access to education mean to you?
Well, going back to my whole journey as a student at UWI and all of that, way back when I graduated, there wasn't any talk about anything like online. In fact, the word internet, it didn't exist as far as I know, email and those things. It was sometime in the 1990s that these words, came into existence.
Yes.
It was during my time working as a teacher in Trinidad that I decided to take all of, I was thinking if I should buy a car, a brand new car, because I had had some savings, but I elected to sign up for a master's degree from University of London. It was quite costly. I had to pay in British pounds, and all of the materials were sent to me by DHL to my house. My mom was surprised when everything arrived, like all of these packages with all these books and whatnot. But I had invested my money and time and savings into that, and it worked out pretty well for me. Because as a student, I prefer that aspect of pacing yourself and not having to necessarily be tied to a lecture and to a classroom at a specific time. So while it was not like it was what we call distance learning, which is, it's the model that was out there at the time. And it was very challenging, you had to be motivated to do it. But I was motivated at that time. I really wanted to get this done. And there were modules like going along by week that you have to pace yourself. At some point, maybe 2 or 3 times for the semester, you get to send a tutor marked assignment that goes off in the mail. Reply comes back in about a couple of weeks, and that was like the only exchange that you had with a human being
Yeah.
uh, about your work. So it was a tremendous challenge. But I was successful in that, and actually, after I graduated from that program, I had a stint at the UWI School of Continuing Studies, which is, of course, now the global campus. So I worked as a lecturer, as a tutor, as they say, at a global campus, and at a couple other colleges in Trinidad, which have now been elevated to like university status, the UTT and others. And so I worked there part-time. I had my day job in school teaching science. And my name became sort of associated with the field of environmental management with that. But after that, I went on to study at UWI again on Fridays and during the holidays. That is how the postgraduate diploma in education is structured. So that was face to face again, something that I enjoyed tremendously because it was teaching. And teaching, of course, is my passion. So I really enjoyed engaging with my fellow teachers, especially after I had quite a bit of experience behind me as a teacher in the classroom. So I really enjoyed that program. And after that, I entered international teaching. My son was born. And eventually I returned to take some classes, like I took a class in a professional certificate in online teaching from a US university, University of Wisconsin. And I took some classes. But I had this passion always, this desire, this hunger to move beyond that level to the doctoral level. And being out there in the international school environment, we had access to lots of like, you know, decent amount of professional development and things like that, and opportunities where the employer would pay some of what you wanted to study. But I kept looking at programs and I felt I was looking at what I felt was the credibility of the university versus the price. And I never felt it was worthwhile for me to invest my time and money in something which I didn't feel confident would be recognized. And here is where it's important. I wanted something where Caribbean people would say, I recognize that. And being from the Caribbean, I know how we are. We are very proud of what we have,
Yeah.
and we believe in what we have, and we don't hesitate to say, I don't accept that place and this place.
Mhm.
And while I don't have any data on it, it does influence me. And what I do know is UWI is the real deal, whether it's Mona campus, St. Augustine, Cave Hill, or the Global campus, or the one over in Five Islands. All of these, they have a certain level that they expect of you. And that level is never compromised. I myself, if I get the time to share about that, I will share about some of the hurdles I faced coming to the
Mhm.
end of my doctoral program. But that to me, when I saw that and I saw the price, I saw where it
Yeah.
was, I felt this, I had to go for this one. And that was in 2019. After
Mhm.
thinking about moving into a doctoral program for maybe about a decade, I I finally found the one that I wanted to go for. And as I mentioned before, COVID soon came,
Mhm.
and it was sort of like I don't want to call it a godsend, but for me personally, as a student, it was ideal because I had the opportunity to stay at home,
Yeah.
uh,
Mhm.
getting out to school. And with the time difference, especially, it worked well, especially for those first couple of years, to get into the program where you have lots of different assignments and whatnot. And after I had myself set there, um, then. So I really appreciated that, the program came into existence, the global campus. The moment I saw that, first of all, it was the open campus. Those are things that I felt that were really good because, again, as a teacher in the Caribbean, I know how hard it is for
Mhm.
a student to pass 5 CXCs. And when you go overseas and you see what a high school diploma is, when you work in public school in Bermuda in the United States, you realize it sort of bleeds your heart, Sharice. It bleeds your heart
Mhm.
because you see kids who are working hard trying to get, in those days, a grade 3 wasn't accepted, and they are quite good kids in school, but we let them come out thinking that, okay, I haven't been able to graduate high school because I got a grade 3. I only passed 3 subjects, and we have the bar set so high. I know now we have made some adjustments to those things,
Mhm.
but we have this academic bar set so high for our children, and it's sometimes, I mean, it some people like it because they can cross it, but on the other hand, it's difficult for some kids, and I think that is where we have this mindset in the Caribbean that North America is not up to our level. And I understand where that is always coming from because people are graduating from high school and they are going forward and getting university degrees. Whereas in Trinidad back in my day, that you had to just go learn a trade. But thankfully now we have so many other universities, which is, I think that's the good thing. UWI remains the beacon of academia, but there are other universities for people to go and learn how to be a lab technician or learn how to be a
Mhm.
plumber and get certified, get qualified, and get something that they can go abroad with and say, I'm certified in this or that. And I think that is also, of course, our step in the right direction. Of course, we had assignments on those kinds of things,
Yeah.
which we did during our program.
Yeah. That
Um,
was great from both of you. And I want to ask now, just at the beginning of your journeys, I know Anna would have spoken about why she chose her program, and Dr. Dubé, you would have also expressed why you chose this program. But tell our audience, at the beginning of your studies, what were your initial expectations?
Okay, so one, I honestly knew that I wanted to complete my master's program. I knew that I wanted a university that is accredited.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know that I felt confident with UWI.
Mm-hmm.
I felt confident hearing from other students, hearing from the lecturers in the Belize Global Campus. But when I started, I wanted to know more about we went through online teaching during COVID. but I knew that it would be a little bit more complex doing the university, and initially having that whole course where you are given the instruction and the know-how of how to navigate the online access was very helpful. I think it was a series of quiz to remember a lot of information, and I remember sitting up at night going through everything and going through it twice to ensure that when I sat my quizzes, I was able to pass. Even though I knew that it wasn't a component that was going to factor into my final grade, it was important to go over it because I wanted to be able to navigate all the systems that we're going to be exposed to. And I think you did a great job in that course in breaking down those things and ensuring that it was shared in a way that was able to manage. I still had my day job. I'm still a mom, and so I had to navigate those things. And so I really appreciate it because my hours were like 9 to 3 in the morning, or I would get up 3 in the morning to do these things. And I really appreciate being able to access those things. The only thing that I had hiccup with a few times were the time difference, because I forgetting like lecture was from which Caribbean island.
Yes, yes. Because Belize is 2 hours behind the Eastern Caribbean. Yes.
And so that was a little hiccup for me, and especially when submitting assignments, I had to do it 2 hours before to meet that deadline.
Yeah.
I was a little bit conscious about that, but otherwise, I felt it was a great experience.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, Sharice, I have a question for you
Yeah.
because I know it's Belize, like when like this is starting at 6 for Caribbean, right? In Barbados, 6 o'clock, correct, Sharice?
Yes.
So what time is it there for you,
For me
Anna?
right now is 6:21.
What about Anna? What time is it for her?
It's 4:21 in the
Yeah,
evening.
so how was that for you? I think I'm wondering how was that for you because you're a teacher, you're a mom, and a lot of the lectures began at 6.
For me, because you know because I'm as a teacher, I can leave work at 3:30.
Okay.
So that gave me that half an
Fine.
hour to get online. So it worked out. It worked out. And then, so it was only for the sessions that we actually met with the lecturers. But as I mentioned, like doing my actual coursework, the time for me would be like from 9 to 3 in the morning, or I would get up 3 in the morning, depends on my responsibilities in regards to work and being a mother. So
Yeah.
my children usually go to bed at 8:30 Belize time. That was very important that I maintain that schedule with them to be able to do my work.
Yes, but for me, then what I expected from the program, I don't think I got any surprises, to be honest with you. I mean,
Okay.
I know what to expect, but I was happy to see that we had classmates from across, you know,
Caribbean.
all of the Caribbean areas. We had from the Bahamas, we had from Barbados, we had some people who were from Jamaica, were based in Canada, and then we had some of the lecturers coming out of the US, actually born and raised, educated in the US, and then we had some coming out of US and Canada who were out of our own UWI.
Mixed bag.
Yeah, so it was a nice experience. Of course, the time difference was a challenge for me, and I expected that. But I went in there wanting to come in and to participate with all of the discussions and so on. And again, because I myself was a tutor at the School of Continuing Studies, I I had that awareness that the people who are coming to facilitate, they have other jobs as well,
Yeah.
you know, and we can't expect them always to be totally, sometimes they are a bit late. They have something that comes up, they may have to cancel. That's very exceptional. Most of the time it was they would come on time, and they all had other jobs. They're highly qualified people. But in many cases, they had something else that they were juggling to come and spend that time with us. And with that awareness, of course, I knew what to expect, though that they might not be um, totally on board every single day and on time. But the work is laid out there, and it's for us to do and to participate. And eventually we will get the feedback and all of that. And so therefore my expectation wasn't that we had somebody who came to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, had 3 hours to prepare a lecture and to get refreshed, and then come 11 o'clock to deliver the lecture. We are dealing with people just like us. They have a job, they have something, and then they are coming to participate with us. And so with that kind of appreciation and understanding, I felt that I wasn't going to be disappointed at all in anything. And that's not to say that the standard dropped, of course. It's just that I didn't have some kind of super expectation that I'm coming for some, elaborate thing. Again, if they are facilitators, they most didn't come to just speak about a slideshow. They came to engage us, and it was for us really, the students, to determine where the class would go in many cases, because it's the kind of discussions that we engage in that they would just allow it to flow. And that's really what this online platform is about. It's not to go sit on Zoom and just hear them speak for an hour.
Yeah. You have to engage, especially with it not being face-to-face sessions. It can get impersonal for some persons. So you, the student, really have to engage with the lecturers in order to ensure that you get back what you're putting in and make sure you get your money's worth.
Exactly. I tell you that there were some sessions where the time would just fly by. And you don't even realize that that 2 hours is gone because everybody is engaging. And I had quite a few lecturers that would say, okay, so we're discussing. But what I appreciated was we're not only discussing, we're actually getting into the meat of the information. So you're not just going to say, okay, I agree with that. Why do you agree? And we were challenged to explain why we agreed to certain things and what gave you that impression of certain things. So you really understand the material that was being shared. And at the end of that discussion, everybody were able to understand or clear up any misunderstanding that they had. And one thing also that I appreciated is when it came to the grading scheme, we were able to question and really get a feedback from some of our lecturers. What are you looking for when you're grading? And yes, we see certain things on the grading rubric, but you were able to question and to ask and to clarify. And that was good because there were certain instances you will see things on a paper and you'll say, you know what, I think I got everything. But when you actually question and you understand, you know what, maybe I was shifting in a little distant direction and not exactly what was required, you're able to clarify that before you actually submit something, you know, and get it wrong. So it was engaging. It was very dynamic because I still have a little group of my colleagues, one from Trinidad, one from Jamaica, and one that was actually in Japan. He was doing the course also. They came in a semester before me, but you know what I did? A summer I dived in and I did the courses for this semester so I could catch up with them. So the summer I was in line with them. So I kept going alongside that group and we worked so well. And I appreciated that camaraderie that we had. We challenged each other, we pushed each other, and there were times when you know what, because there was a hiccup during my time. I had a medical issue and I had to go undergo treatment while I was studying. And there were some days that I wasn't able to do much, but working with people from the Caribbean that are familiar and we have similarities,
Yeah.
that was very motivating to me to push on and not make the excuse, you know what, I have this hiccup. So even though I had that challenge, I pushed through because I wanted to complete with that group. I wanted to complete, and we have that network of instructional designers across the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. And I chose not to express that to my lecturers because I wanted to complete, but I didn't want to make any excuses for not being able to do
To
my
do.
work. Yeah, so after I completed, I emailed some of my lecturers and I explained to them what I had to deal with. And I thanked them for being rough with me sometimes, um, to push me and
Yeah.
actually pushing
To-
our to do our best work. So
So you would,
I did that.
sorry to interrupt you, Anna. So you would say the program was very rigorous then. It wasn't just, oh, we are going online to learn, but there were rigor in the program.
It was
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So before,
Japan, I didn't know you. I
mhm,
didn't know. I thought I was like the furthest student out, but
mhm,
it's interesting to hear that we had. I think during my time there, we had one
mhm,
visiting student who was doing like a degree in another place, but she
mhm.
joined one of our courses. She was from somewhere in Europe. But apart from that, um, the program for me was, I mean, the question I'm answering again, Sharice, is what?
Yes,
What's my
we were, pardon?
what's the question that you asked me?
We were, oh, Dr. Dubé, I'm lost now at the question. We were just flowing after after the last question. But I guess what I really want to know, though, following on from what Anna said, I wanted, this is myth versus reality. You
Right.
can debunk it as well. I know Anna just debunked it in her statement. Online students don't build friendships. That is a
Oh,
myth
yes.
or
No,
reality?
that's
Mhm.
well, you don't build the kind of friendship where you will sit and have lunch together or that kind of thing. But at the same time, you interact with people a whole lot. And
Mhm.
yes, just like Anna, I am also in contact with some people through WhatsApp and things like that. We stay in touch. Um, Recently, when I actually went to receive my degree at UWI St. Augustine, I had the opportunity to meet a couple of them like face to face
Wow.
for the first
Mhm.
time, and we all graduated together. So that was nice. But yes, you do get to know people quite well because you see the structure of the program. It's not, especially in the first couple of years when we are in the doctoral program, because later on you have to get into your own research. But in the
Mhm.
first couple of years, we did lots of courses, and in the program that I was in, like teaching and learning with emerging technologies, we had to get into some groups, do some presentations, engage with certain kinds of tools and whatnot. And each of us had to have our own specific contribution. And the thing about it is that we don't have students at this level in this kind of program coming to just sort of, they don't know why they're there. Then you don't have that situation where you have some kids in school that they're just there because parents send them. You're talking about people who have sacrificed their time, their savings and whatnot, and their family life to come, and everybody's pretty serious. They want to make something out of this program. So you have people who push others. If
Yeah.
if I might feel that, okay, I don't want to do this tonight because I have a couple days, and others in my team are saying, let's do this, then
Mhm.
I would be motivated. So that kind of motivation from within the groups that you are put in, the dynamics was a big factor. And those group activities really pushed everybody in the team to come out and give up their best, because it's, for me as a person, if it's just myself, sometimes I say, okay, I can let myself down. But when there are three others
Yeah.
who are depending on you to do your part, you feel that extra sense of responsibility. And I think that a lot of people shared that. And at the end, when you present your work and it's discussed with the other groups and with the lecturer and whatnot, it's a very rewarding feeling beyond the grade. That's really not what it's about. The whole
It's
experience of
understanding the
sharing.
material. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was a particularly enjoyable part, and it led to this kind of bonding that you have. Those were the activities that actually allowed people to develop friendships and to get to know each other. Because what would happen to is we'd have to have meetings outside of the lectures. We'd have to get together. We'd all have to decide when the meeting would be, and that too was a challenge for me because of the time zone. But
Yes.
I overcame that, and we had lots of meetings, and that's when, of course, we would get to share a little bit about ourselves and things like that. And the seasons would come and go, Christmas, Easter, and whatnot. We'd greet and meet
Mhm.
each other and whatnot. So I think yes, for sure, it was more than just a face online coming on. We did develop some relationships along the way, and those relationships were coming out of not you meeting somebody, getting to campus and giving them a ride in your car, which might
Mhm.
happen when we are all getting to the same
Face
place.
to
They were
yeah,
born
when
out
you're
of
on
the
the campus.
activities that were given by the UWI, how those were structured, and how we were made to interact with each other. It's not just like you see a name and a face online and you reach out to them. That's not how it happened. Whereas in face-to-face class, that might happen like that. You might say, "Oh, I like your outfit. Would you like a ride home? Would you like to carpool?" And those could lead to relationships. Right, but these were relationships born out of our professional work together, our academic work together. And then starting from that point, it led to us getting to know each other and warming up to each other. And I think it's a great plus for how the program was structured in
Yeah.
terms of how students were made to interact.
Okay, awesome. And I know persons are online watching us, and if they have, just want to encourage them, if they have any questions for our panelists, you are free to drop it in the chat and I will relay them to them. But I want to make our administration plug here and let those who are watching and thinking about their own journey that our application period is currently open for programs beginning in September 2026. So this September. So currently our application deadlines are undergraduate programs, July 31st, postgraduate programs like what Anna did is the deadline for that is July 26th. And for the EDD programs, for like what Dr. Dubé did are June 30th. So that is July 31st, July 26th, and June 30th. So you can go onto our website and apply global.ue.edu/apply. Once again, that is global.ue.edu/apply. So before we go back into our questions, I just want to let you finish this sentence. Studying online is easier when. Studying online is easier when. And I'm going to ask you that one. Dr. Dubé, I have a different question for you.
Okay.
When you're dedicated, when you're motivated,
Mhm,
you want to accomplish a dream that and a desire that you know that you can do with the
mhm.
best university.
Okay, great. So Dr. Dubé, my biggest study hat was, give us some tips.
Well, for me, my biggest study hack, you see, it's kind of like specialized for my program because
Mhm,
uh, in the EdD program, we had teaching and learning with technologies. We had something called especially in the first 2.5 years, we had a lecture course that was certain number of credits, and we had a practical kind of course where for every unit we had to go into what was called the sandbox, which is the learning platform Moodle, and we had to build some kind of lesson and whatnot there. And one of the things, I mean, I didn't bring this out. One of the reasons why I was drawn towards this EDD program with teaching and learning with technologies was because I had the feeling that I had done a lot of work already during my professional life, and so that was true to an extent.
mhm,
But there are certain kinds of assignments that I wasn't prepared for, of course, interacting with people, and then later on doing the research part. But in terms of like building those things online, my biggest hack was the fact, well, I wouldn't call it a hack. It was hard work
mhm.
that I did before
Yes,
that I
yeah.
just drew upon, and
Mhm,
it made my life easier because I knew a lot about those tools. Also, I think it was an advantage that I worked overseas in some privileged schools and things like that, and they exposed me to certain kinds of tools which a lot of my colleagues were now beginning to be exposed to for the first time. So that was a sort of a leverage that I had, but it only gave me a leverage in certain aspects. Like there was this one credit thing called the practical aspect of every course. I think now they've merged them into one course, but at that time it was one credit for going into the sandbox and building something, and three
Yeah.
credits for like discussions and a paper and whatnot. And each course went like that. So that those one credit bits,
Mhm.
my hack was that if you have some experience before, you can cash in with that. And I'm sure we all have our areas of expertise and experience that we can cash in with,
Mhm.
and of course, apart from that, you just, you keep a check on everything. Sometimes when you have to do a discussion, of course, you one of the little tricks, I mean, I shouldn't be putting this out there, but necessarily, but you wait, you don't want to be jump in and be the first person.
Mm.
Lots of times I like to do that, but if you wait for others and you see what they're saying, then even if you haven't read all the material, you can sort of just like say, oh, this is what's going on, and
Yeah,
then you
get a
can go
feel.
read,
Mhm.
afterwards.
Yeah.
So those are hacks, I mean, that
Mhm.
students do. But at other times, I took the lead also because I just
Mhm.
wanted to put myself out there. Because while there were quite a lot of experienced people, just like myself in the program, I
Mhm.
was very often one of the most experienced. So I wanted to sort of just put myself out there, be a leader sometimes. Other
Mhm.
times, I might have been caught up with something and I would sort of just look and see what others have said and come and sort of piggyback on that. So that too
Yeah.
was something that when in the discussion forum, the written discussion was also an important thing because it was what we call asynchronous, and
Yeah.
that was useful for me in the sense that we had this interaction going on over the whole course of a month or 2 months. There, apart from the times that we would meet face to face, and sometimes people would be able to engage about that in the live classroom because we might have something that we engage with on the chat, and then when we come to the live classroom, we have the opportunity to like bring up what was discussed there, and so that too was
That's
good.
helpful. Yeah. So I want to ask both of you the moment, that final moment when you've made so many sacrifices, balancing your studies, your work, your families, both of you are parents, you have other commitments. What was that moment when you realized I'm really going to graduate? This is finally over. And how did you feel?
Well, I'm telling you, it went down to the last
Mm.
submission when I realized, you know what, because at the end, I had a major struggle with my health.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that meeting that last deadline would have been a serious struggle. I prepped myself and I didn't sleep for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
I made sure that I dotted all the I's and crossed the T's. And when I clicked that button to submit work,
Yes.
I felt so relieved, and I all I wanted was my bed. And I actually couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. I was I it was a surreal moment that, you know what? I didn't plan on this, and here I am at the end. The time flew by so fast. I learned a lot. I knew that even though it wasn't the course that I wanted initially, but
Mm-hmm.
I believe that I made the best choice.
Sure.
And it was that last moment when that last submission went in. And guess what? Recently I did an interview for a job,
Mm.
and I placed my portfolio, my last project, and everything on a QR code. And so after my interview, and I answered all the questions, and I said, you know what, I have a mountain of samples of my work here. And so I shared my QR code, and I felt good.
Yes.
These are the things that I learned um, to market myself, and there was an emphasis on completing that portfolio. And ensuring that you have the wealth of information that you went through. And so that was a moment that I felt good. I
Mm.
felt good because I paid attention, I did the work, and I made it through. And I made it through with flying colors. So I was proud of myself, and I so much appreciated all those moments when the lecturer would say, you know, you got to put in the work. And so I did.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, Anna, before I answer, I wanted to tell you, take a breather now and then come back to
Yeah,
the next
yes.
level, right? Because you already got through it flying colors.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait too long. But for me, it was of course it was a like a life, well, not life changing, but certainly an unforgettable one, a great memory to like to hear my name call and to have on the robes and the hat and to go up and to shake the hand of all of the dignitaries on the stage last November at graduation at St. Augustine. I I I didn't go back home for some time, so I wanted to go back home for a while. Usually I go home at Christmas break, but I took the decision this time to go home just during that 1 week there, which
Yes.
coincided with the holiday of Diwali in Trinidad, which I haven't seen for such a long, long time. So it
Wow.
was a it was double for me. I
Mm.
was able to go to graduation at UWI. Of course, it's was a very special experience actually, to go there and to receive my doctorate. So before that happened, of course, it was a long, long journey. And in all honesty, the first 2 years, I had no issues really with doing the courses and enjoying the program thoroughly. Challenging, yes, but I was up for the challenge to write papers, to
Yes.
participate, to speak online, and I was totally okay with that. One of the things why I was always worried about if I can make it with a doctorate, of course, was the part that came in the last 2 years, which is the research component.
Mhm.
Because even back when I did my postgraduate diploma in education, I was again, like top of my class in the teaching the lesson and writing the papers, but I had to do a research, collect data in my classroom, and that didn't wasn't of the same level then of my
Mhm.
other work. And the
Adopted.
same thing happened this time as well, because like the rigor of research and the details. I am more of a kind of person who will go up and speak spontaneously like I'm doing now. But when it comes to all that eye for detail and research and all of that, I'm not as good.
Mm.
So I was very excited about my research project, extremely. And I was excited about the teaching and how to do it and how to implement it. And I did really good with that part. I wrote up the whole background because I like writing about education. Chapter one went by, chapter two went by, but then now you come to the data collection and the analysis. And there is where I hit some roadblocks. And there's where, of course, that is where I really learned so much. And I had that opportunity to grow because it was something that challenged me. I had to go back and train myself in all of the various statistical tests and whether things and learn things for the first time, what was valid and what was not valid. And then along the way, I had some challenges because UWI had some problems with funding and things like that. Of course, it was the COVID pandemic,
Yeah.
right? It's not to point the finger at anybody. It was difficult. My supervisor left. I had to get a new supervisor.
Wow.
There was a challenge of me getting that supervisor. I actually got into to the fray and tried to find people as supervisors. But again, I found some people who had doctorates who I worked with and things like that, and I put their name forward to UWI,
Mhm.
and they were all rejected. And at that time, I was extremely frustrated. Why are you rejecting these people? You're not getting me a supervisor. But in hindsight, I come to understand why. This is again an uncompromising position from our university on the level that we want. It's not just somebody who has a doctorate that they're looking for. They're looking for somebody who has experience in that field, understands what you're doing, and has published work. And I think, for example, okay, you get somebody who is the head of school in an international school and they have ED, but they are in administration. They are not focused on publishing and reading papers and things like that. So I think that is where the search was to find somebody. Eventually, I did a lot of work on my own because I have that self-belief and confidence. I went ahead, I did all of my research, and eventually I got one of my old lecturers from St. Augustine who knew me from way back when I did the DIPED program. She stepped in to be my supervisor. Again, that was not her, it was not her strong point because she's quantitative research and she's qualitative research, and I was doing a lot of quantitative research and mixed methods. But she stepped in and took me over the line. And when I submitted my paper, I was successful. But at the oral defense, I had some problems. And again, uh, with those problems, I was asked to come back a second round by the examiners, both who came from Trinidad. Both people, of course, extremely well published. They knew their stuff inside out. And in all honesty, I wasn't prepared for some of what they were going to throw at me. And it's not about blaming anybody. At that time, of course, I was quite frustrated, but I decided to go back to the drawing board right away, and I fixed all of what they asked for. And within a few months, I was able to resubmit my work and have a new oral defense set up so that they could meet with me again. And in all honesty, that roadblock, that trip that I had, that I told my wife, that is really where most of the learning really came from in the program. Otherwise, it would just be, oh, you're flying through, check, 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 check. You didn't learn anything new. And for me, that was the biggest learning. And having access to these two experts, which UWI got to be my external examiners, and having them actually grill me about all of the problems that I had, and then going back. I mean, credit to myself for going back and not giving up, of course, and which is I wasn't going to come this far and say like that's going to stop me, and I was able to fix everything, and then get over the line. And after that, I didn't stop there. I engaged with the library, and I fixed everything that had to fix in terms of the referencing and whatnot. That went on for about 15 exchanges with two librarians. And again, that shows the level that UWI is at. They are not going to say that you are ready for the library unless you go through certain things. Every comma, every full stop, everything that has to be cited. Eventually, I did all of that. And of course, I then had my paper totally polished and everything. So I approached the ERIC platform, which is an educational resource platform in the US, to accept my work. And I think especially for international students and Caribbean students, it's a privilege to get selected. And my work is selected and it's archived there. So as Anna was saying, you get that QR code, getting my work archived outside in this international platform, which is widely recognized. And I came to understand that if I didn't go through all of that work with the library, and I wrote them and said a huge thank you, because Eric would not accept the work. First of all, it has to meet a certain level of rigor and quality, and then it has to be properly formatted. So that too was especially gratifying, that getting my work archived there. And I'm still working on possibly publishing it in some other places and things like that. But those were the two, that the moment that I collected my diploma, and then after that to go on to get it placed on the ERIC platform. And
Wow, that was a journey for both of you. That was intense, and getting over illness, changes in supervisors, having to make different correction to your defense, having that portfolio at the end where you can show a sample of your work, of your research, and be able to publish internationally. That is very excellent. That is excellent. And I do want to commend both of you for overcoming so much. And it speaks to not only the level of the degrees here at the UWI Global Campus, but the tenacity of our students, that they are able to overcome so much to get to that point, that goal that they have. And could you believe we have 8 minutes remaining? We've been having this amazing discussion and hearing your journey. But before I let both of you have your brief ending comments. The question will be, who do you think the global campus is for? And just one word of advice. I'm just going to let those who are listening again know that they too can be like you in the future if they wish to start their journey in September 2026. Our application deadlines are for the undergraduate programs, July 31st. For the postgraduate programs, July 26th, and for the EDD programs, June 30th. They can apply by visiting our website, global.ue.edu/apply. That is global.ue.edu/apply, and follow the on-screen instructions. So we have 7 more minutes, and I know everyone wants to hear your final thoughts. So if you can briefly let us know, who do you think the global campus is for? And just a one word or one sentence advice to our potential students.
Global campus for anybody. Dreams that they want to accomplish in this life. You will have the support that you need. You need to come motivated, of course, but you're going to get a quality education that you can use across the Caribbean and anywhere in the world. We Caribbean people are learned people. We have ambitions and you can do it. Never let anybody tell you you can't. The UWI campus is here for you and for you alone. It's your dream, your motivation. Look in the mirror and say, I want to be, and you can.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And I think that the global campus is for everybody. But to be more specific, I think it's great to have it, especially for the people who are in places that are far off and they cannot access our physical campus. For example, Trinidad and Tobago, you might be in Tobago. Of course, you can have Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, all the way up. And previously, we used to have like little centers in all of these places and things like that. And now all of that has now become a part of this global campus. It's not like you can just go there and get a little course here and there. You can be studying for a doctorate out of St. Vincent and St. Lucia and things like that. I have some classmates who are out of those places, and you can bring your experiences in those places to the doctoral level at the global campus, to the master's level. And that to me is this access that we have created for the remote areas of Jamaica, for example. I came to know this actually during my time as a student, that, in Jamaica, you have Kingston and you have Montego Bay, but there are some places that are so far flung. It's the biggest island that we have of the UWI family. And there are places that are pretty far flung, and getting access to the internet and things like that, it's not that easy in some of these places. So even there within the country itself, it's great. And then, of course, all of the other islands. We we of course have Guyana students from Guyana sometimes join us, and from South America. But I think it's also what I think the challenge is for Global Campus is to try to reach out to others beyond our own family. And I noticed, because I lived in Bermuda, I noticed also that in Bermuda has recently put their flag with the UWI a few years ago. And actually, in one of my courses, one of my lecturers from Trinidad was working in Bermuda, sort of like I did, so that I see that Bermuda is getting involved there as well. The Bahamas, I know there are lots of people from Bahamas and Cayman, and of course now I see Anna from Belize, and I know some other people from Belize. But of course, the diaspora people from the Caribbean who have gone across to the US, the UK, Canada. But what I think the challenge is, of course, is to try to bring in people from other places, just like we might be aspiring in the Caribbean to go to the US to this university. And that, of course, remains a challenge, because we are a small island developing country. People immediately have that idea in their mind. Oh, those are little islands, what can they offer? And of course, we know that we always punch above our weight in everything. In athletics, in cricket, we used to, and we still do to quite an extent, and whatnot. We are always like that. And Caribbean people are really special, as Anna mentioned, and we are confident in ourselves. And and as our Professor Beckers always says in his videos and whatnot, we are one of the best in the world. And if we are one of the best in the world, I would like to invite the whole world to come and join with us. And having said that, Sharice, some of my colleagues in India have asked me about this program,
Wow.
and if they can apply. And I didn't, I
Of
honestly, I
course,
didn't
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So I told them, yes, I mean, I could give you
Yeah.
the link. But
Yeah.
one of the things I feel we need to look at in the program, it was a bit of a thing that I had to iron out, because my research was being done in India.
Mhm.
And I had to speak with the program, managers and whatnot about how that would relate to the Caribbean. And there had to be a Caribbean component in there. So I don't mind that. But if we are going to reach out to others, we might have to think that, okay, global doesn't mean it has to connect to the Caribbean. So that is something I would certainly love to see, the global becoming, apart from our diaspora, which is already big and spread across a big place, and of course from Japan and from I'm here in India and whatnot. But I would like to see, global become people who have never been to the Caribbean say, "Oh, I can join a program at UWI."
Campus. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that is something we will definitely look into, and we will definitely give this great advice to the powers that be and to our leadership and management team. I wish I had more time to speak to both of you. Your stories have been so inspiring and so engaging, and we've learned so much about the student journey of just from listening to both of your stories. And I want to thank both of you once again, listeners, viewers. We had Anna Oliveira Reyes from Belize. She studied her master's in instructional design and technologies. And we have Dr. Dharmendra Dubey, aka Dr. Dan, from Trinidad and Tobago. He did his EDD in teaching and learning with emerging technologies. And we want to wish them all the best on behalf of everyone here at the UWA Global Campus. We want to congratulate you for finishing your degree so successfully and wish you every continued success in your careers and future endeavors. Special thanks to Patrick Johnson, who handled the technical aspect of this evening's production and the broadcast. Today's discussion, it allowed us to hear directly from two of our most recent graduates about how the global campus opens doors to life-changing learning, opportunity, and growth across the Caribbean, and I should say the world. We hope their stories inspire you to start your own educational journey here with us in September. As we said, applications remain open. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, I'm Cherise Glasgow. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.